Welcome to our video on the foundations of executive function, or EF. We'll be covering our general definition of executive function, the different sub-skills that comprise EF, and ways in which its parts can manifest in individual strengths or challenges. Our general definition for executive function is that it is the learned ability to coordinate cognitive functions into more complex systems of action. Executive function is how we remember what needs to get done. It's how we recognize what's a priority and what might need to be set aside for later, and how we actually make sure that that happens. It's how we estimate how long something will take, and how we figure out how to pace ourselves so that we're working the most effectively. In other words, we use executive function to set and achieve goals. It's how we get things done. We really want to emphasize that in our coaching experience and framework, EF is learnable, and we can learn these skills at any stage in life. EF is built on sequences of coordinated action. This includes thinking patterns as well as external behavior. Individual strengths and weaknesses can impact one's daily functioning, and so rather than thinking of EF as just a laundry list of different skills, we like to think of it as also located within the individual as a person who has their own history, experiences, and perspectives. Often when defining EF, people are given a longer list of sub-skills that might include things like working memory, time management, organization, and so on. A list like this can be helpful and informative in understanding what EF is really composed of. It's a great starting point to learn about how skills and difficulties can manifest. However, it can also get overwhelming to look at all of these as separate parts under the umbrella of EF. We see in our clients that many of these sub-skills are inherently connected and they overlap, more so a web rather than a list. And so therefore, our coaching method often integrates resources that tackle many of these sub-skills at once. This brings us to the foundations of EF that inform our coaching here at Connect to Learn. So we're transitioning from a longer list of sub-skills into a more interwoven, interconnected idea of domains. The first EF foundation that we target is time sense. We like to think of time sense as the ability to work with time, not just against it. When coaching a new client, we often start this foundation of time sense because many other EF skills really depend on a general awareness of time and how it's being used. In fact, many people seek coaching because they really struggle with managing their time. So we might start with a time audit or a time tracking exercise to better understand how someone is already using their time and to help them build this time awareness in their daily lives going forward. We then begin introducing and exploring strategies that help clients make better use of their time for whatever their goals or life circumstances might be. These strategies can include things like planners, calendars, habit tracking apps, and so on. But in our experience, the tool itself is not the most important element. There's no one-size-fits-all approach for time management. It's more so the ability to change the mindset away from multitasking, which can get overwhelming because you're thinking, I have to do this and this and this all at the same time. And instead, we're coaching a mindset of effective sequencing. I'll do X, and then Y, and then Z. The next foundation we target is the use of organized systems. This speaks to implementing structures and methods that are both effective and efficient. Organization can be physical, digital, or cognitive. Working on organization means thinking about both the physical materials at your disposal as well as actions that you can prioritize and take. Somewhat similarly to time sense, the specific systems or organizational tools are not the priority. There are no perfect tools, especially given that organization itself is largely subjective. Instead, we're trying to strengthen systematic thinking and problem solving, the ability to process, sequence, categorize, and prioritize different pieces as part of a larger goal or objective. In coaching the use of different systems, it's important to use general structures or guidelines that are individualized and tailored to the client's needs. It's a balance between trying new strategies and sticking with the system long enough to identify whether it's effective or not. However, this is also where people can get easily overwhelmed and demoralized. One common pitfall is trying too many things too quickly, regardless of how useful an individual strategy might be. The art of coaching is about building a strong relationship and knowing a person well enough to suggest, adapt, and practice new systems at a pace that works well for them. We emphasize the importance of checking in about pacing, as well as striking a balance between persisting with a certain organizational tool and also intuiting whether it might be time to try something else. This last foundation, metacognition, speaks to the ability to reflect on one's own progress and be cognizant of existing patterns and habits. We found that this is at the core of every aspect of coaching, deeply connected to time sense and organized systems. Developing metacognition begins with noticing one's habits and thoughts, and then working on actionable items that can create change. So in coaching, this might look like a coach leading a client through exercises where they notice their relationship with time through a time tracking exercise. Or the coach might discuss with their client any existing habits and systems, or lack thereof, in order to notice how these are helping or preventing the client from achieving a goal. This process of verbalizing and externalizing thoughts makes it so that the coach can reflect back any patterns that the client might have, or any unhelpful thoughts or cognitive biases that are interfering with the client's ability to plan and act. By noticing out loud with someone else, as well as independently through more reflection, people are building their self-awareness. This helps with stress tolerance and emotion regulation, all of which helps us be more effective with planning and acting. So after talking through each of the foundations of executive function, we can see that they are inherently connected and they impact one another. Executive function skills can be broken down into a laundry list of different sub-skills, but the reality is that they are still closely intertwined. An EF coach will assess the client's strengths and needs in these foundations and then tailor the coaching to the client's goals. We hope this has given you some insight into how we define executive function and how we work with these definitions to inform our coaching process. To learn more about what coaching could entail, head over to our video on coaching foundations that guide our process here at Connect to Learn. You can also check out our website for more resources and information about coaching, as well as upcoming events and programs.